Hello and welcome to the Dr. Tara Hogan podcast today, where we are sharing vital truths about womanhood and motherhood. And today we have a guest from the Wellness Element. Her name's Jess Reynolds, and she is going to be sharing with us about a lot of things I'm super passionate about, but one of which she seems to have cracked the code on morning sickness and hyperemesis gravidarum, if you know what that is. And so we're going to be talking all about that and digging deep today. So thank you, Jess, for coming on. And please introduce yourself and kind of how you got into the work that you are now doing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And, any eyes and ears that I get on this work is really important because so many women are suffering and their care providers just aren't really able to give them the quality of care that they need. So this is, I think, a really important mission. I founded the Wellness Element in 2020. We're currently actually going through a little bit of a rebrand, which I'm super excited about, but really wanting to create a mission more out of this work because I really believe I'm really passionate about helping set children on the right trajectory of health and well-being and not making them be a lifetime customer to the big industries that we see. And this really starts in motherhood. Empowering and educating a mom through this season is going to be what changes that trajectory. And so while I'm working in the space of HG and morning sickness, because I was fortunately able to reverse it myself, going from being sick 30 times a day to never being sick again when doctors told me there wasn't really anything I could do about it. It's a symptom of this deeper work that needs to be done. And the deeper work has so many untold benefits that are going to trickle through and ripple through our kids' health and our family's health and society at large.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so beautiful. And I got into pregnancy work as a chiropractor because I thought it was the best way to help bring in life on the right trajectory. And I love that you use that word because I think that if we can get at the root of things at the very beginning, then we are literally setting children up on a whole different life path. Mm-hmm. So I'm super passionate about that as well. But I would love for you to share your story. So you were, and I want to share with you I have 5 kids.
Yeah.
And 3 of the 5 of them, I had some pretty significant morning sickness. My first one, I was still in chiropractic school. So high stress load, learning a lot about how to eat, I did a lot to change my diet, but it was like I just couldn't beat it. I had it for about 22 weeks, just throwing up every day. Like it was really, really rough. And at the same time, I had 2 other friends who were pregnant at the same time, similar situations, high stress, going through school. And one of them ended up she had twins, losing her babies. And another one ended up using Zofran, which at that point I was like, I'm not using any drugs. I was not of that mindset. I was like, I would rather struggle than use any medication.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share kind of your journey. And I'm really interested to hear, all the things. I got so many questions. So you go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, my journey starts a lot earlier than my pregnancy. I went through, and I'm actually a registered physiotherapist. And so I went through for physiotherapy school. When I was doing my physiotherapy education, part of my requirement was to be up to date on all of the required medical interventions that they wanted in the UK. So I ended up getting a vaccine injury at that point. And just sort of having a relapse of previous concussion symptoms and things that had happened. So at that point, I was working in a specialist facility with neurologists, and they're like, don't take this the wrong way, but you have a traumatic brain injury.
Oh,
and I was like, wow. But it had really reared itself again through that season. And I've always been really healthy. So I'm able to kind of keep some of the symptoms at bay. Fast forward, I leave Europe where I'm doing my education. I come back to Canada and all my symptoms really ramp up. Prior to this, I was an elite level athlete, obviously had done a lot of education, and, it became, I'm needing to rest after vacuuming my house or doing something insignificant where, 6 months prior, I was in an athletic shape. So really just something was off. My glands would swell like massively, like, this, you wouldn't even see this. It would just be, and I kept going to the hospital and they just send me to a different specialist and a different specialist and a different specialist. And, I asked them, like, my symptoms are so persistent. They're all of the time. Is there something to do with something I'm eating that I'm allergic to, something that I'm doing on a daily basis? Like, something has to be contributing to this. And I had an aha moment when they said, "Oh, you know more than nutrition than we do. We don't really consider that part of medicine." It was this moment of like, if you went to a mechanic and said, like, "I don't know why my car doesn't work. I've just been putting apple juice in the gas tank," like, and they're like, "Oh, that has nothing to do with it." Of course, like, that wouldn't happen. So I ended up sort of going like, I'm going to have to figure this out myself. And in my physiotherapy education, they trained us to teach like, or to learn like a master list, like a problem list. It was just the way that this school taught. So if someone has a knee injury, it's like, what are all the possible things that could be that knee injury? And then what can you do to rule in or out until you whittle down the diagnosis? So I had whittled down my diagnosis to either lupus, Lyme disease, or Hashimoto's, or some combination. And in that, I ended up studying nutritional therapy. I got a diploma in nutritional therapy and epigenetics. And I just put into practice something that would work for all of them. Like, if it's going to work for all of them, it's probably going to give me an improvement.
Yeah.
So really,
instead of treating symptoms, let's get at the root. Like, what's the root of
exactly
all these things?
So really spending time, effort, and energy to do that. And then from there, I probably got about an 85% improvement. Few things that I wanted to tweak after, but fast forward and I became pregnant and then was hit sort of with HG. And I just remember feeling like, is this the normal level of morning sickness? I would typically consider myself quite capable, quite a doer, a thinker, and I was like, do I just suck at being pregnant? Like, I'm pretty much good at all the things. Like, what's going on here? And you don't see a care provider, right, in the early days. And then when you do, the only solution is, I said, medication. So multiple hospitalizations later, and the doctor's questioning me like, I don't understand. Why haven't you taken the prescription we've given you? And I was like, well, you don't safety test in pregnancy. I'm not really willing to take on the risks that I don't know and like have my baby be a little bit of an experiment in this. And he was like, kind of just like had this mentality of like, I can endure anything. And so he's like, well, I know we've gotten it wrong a few times with thalidomide and x-raying babies and this and that, but we're pretty sure that that's not the case with Zofran. Like, we've been using it for a while. And I was like, that's not really good enough for me. So when I would be hospitalized, I would have intravenous medications. And outside of that, they gave me a prescription for probably like 50 Zofran tablets. I think I told my husband to get like 5. I'm like, I do not ever want to rely on them. I don't want to have them. This is like, if I need it to stop me from going into the hospital again, this is what I'll do. And so then it was like, when Zofran was working or diclectin or antihistamines were working, it was like, what are these pieces doing in the body that I could reverse engineer the solution from? If they're having some positive effect, they have to be acting like I need to figure out what the acting mechanism is. And then I have to reverse engineer it and create a root cause approach and a more holistic version of these medications. And so, it was kind of like, if I did it once, I could do it again. And I did. I went from, being sick between 5 to 30 times a day to getting sick once on day 3, once I sort of enacted this plan for myself. And then I was never sick again. And I went on to feel like the best I'd felt in years in 3rd trimester. Finally got the pregnancy glow. And the rest is kind of history. I've just been digging into the research and the ways and pathophysiology that can create HG. And this is where I'm at.
Awesome. That is such an amazing story. And I think it's just, I just posted this TikTok video about, people getting testing all the time when their kid's sick, like run them to the doctor and test. Oh, it's this, but like, why is your kid like getting this over and over and over? Like, like, what is the root cause? Like, is it at the root of things that is causing like this chronic thing to continue and continue. And so like that's really like what I wish the world could understand is like if we can just fix the physiology and give the body everything it needs, then we can actually like express health. Like we can just be normal.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of my work too, because everyone comes to me and they're like, well, what labs are you going to run? What tests are you going to run? I'm like, I'm not. And they're like, well, how will you know what's wrong with me? I'm like, because I'll listen to your story for long enough and I'll pull up the clues. And, you know, it's my job to have studied this in the background. And if we get like, do I need you to pay $1,000 to just get a term? That it really is just a box of like characterization for symptoms, right? Even with HG, like I just want to express it as these are symptoms of dysfunction in your body. There's deficiencies, toxicities, and imbalances. And if we just dig right into correcting those, the expression of the symptoms is going to be reduced. And how well we target that reduces the symptoms more. So yeah, I think and this is part of it, like my very first piece of my training is like, on intuition, on using your gut, because we've been so disconnected from our bodies. And this again goes back to my mission statement. Like truly, I think by design, the medical system has used pregnancy as this opportunity to pull a woman away from her inner knowing.
Absolutely.
And then she doesn't know, right? It's like, do you want to do this or you're going to kill your baby? Essentially is the tone of so many conversations.
Yes.
And then she's in a fear state.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is a perfect lead in to my next question. Emotion. You had a post and about, you know, just like emotionally kind of being ready. Like, how do you feel like, and it was about like Chinese medicine and how different emotions are, you know, within different organs. And I love studying that kind of thing. What would you say is like some of the systems that you're seeing involved in HG that people are like maybe could do emotional work on, or how do you see that manifesting?
Yeah, I think there's like layers to this, right? Whenever I dive into the concept of emotions, people immediately jump back of like, oh, well, I'm not that stressed, or well, I've got my life well managed. Or, you know, I went to therapy. And it's not really about those things. It's more so like, well, first off, like, are you in energetic alignment with pregnancy, right? If you're trying to maintain your independence, like keep your workload the same, you know, you're trying to manage all the things, like pregnancy is a surrender state. It's a rest. And so are you slowing down and honoring that? And are you in full acceptance of that? Or are you already meeting pregnancy with an energetic resistance? And then another layer is like we're seeing down regulations of these body systems in traditional Chinese medicine that have not been able, like they each govern a set of emotions. And when those emotions haven't been safe to express in your life, they get repressed. It's either expressed or repressed or suppressed, either one. And so things that I'm seeing really is a big impact on the liver and the kidneys. And so the kidneys are really like this idea of fear, idea of not being enough, getting left behind, not performing to the way you want to. It's sort of forward-facing fear of making the right decision, taking the right path, not falling behind in life. And I think for so many women, there's this pressure of like, well, now you have to earn an income and you have to be like a sourdough making mom and you have to, you know, homeschool. You have to do it all and you have to do it all well. And then like, you know, it's just this idea of like, I can't keep up. And it's this like free state of the fear of what happens when I can't keep up and perform all those duties. And then when we talk about the liver is more so to do with like anger, irritability, resentfulness. That's a little bit more the gallbladder, even self-pity. So as a child, through your life, in your relationship, have you been able to express healthy anger? Maybe not because of the other person's reaction, but even your own just desire to express it. You know, I kind of had this epiphany in my own healing of, you know, when I said I was about 85% better just prior to getting pregnant, I went to a bioresonance practitioner and he's like, oh, your liver's struggling. And he's like, what about your childhood trauma? And I was like, no, I haven't been beaten or abused or whatever. And he's like, well, that's not the only way you get trauma. And then he's like, and what about anger? I'm like, oh, I'm not an angry person. Like I never get angry. I never get mad. And he's like, so you've suppressed it. And I'm like, oh. Like, it's true. Like, the opposite of expression is suppression. And
Yeah.
so I'm seeing these patterns really tie into, now they're down regulating the function of key organ systems that already take an additional burden during pregnancy. And so we're seeing like these systems just can't keep up to the level that they need to once pregnant.
Yeah. So I could see how in just like a simple interview of somebody listening to them and their life and their symptoms, how you could glean like that emotion or like look and find that system needs supported. I think that's really brilliant. So there's also a lot of information floating around now, I think, about male fertility. And I have heard in the past that morning sickness is tied to the male's contribution. And I know that, I really kind of believe that fertility is like 50-50. It's based on, both humans are contributing, but I would love for you to, expand on that and tell us if that's kind of a myth or like how you see that fitting into things.
Yeah, I would say there's pieces that really are important and are key through the mail. But I think it's another opportunity where we shift away the ownership and the things that we can be doing ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're born with your eggs. The 3 months prior to conception, your eggs are, getting ready, or the egg that's going to be released is sort of maturing in a way. And once that baby comes into your system, it is not feeding off the nutrient stores of the father. It is not sitting in the toxic burden of the father. It is
Yeah.
not in the emotional climate of the father, right? And so
Yeah,
there's a
absolutely.
piece with sperm quality being important. And I think that's more so important about early placental development. I would say that the weight is more in the miscarriage consideration than it is in the morning sickness piece, if you ask me. Because again,
Yeah.
if that were the case, I wouldn't be able to modify these behaviors or this environment in a woman's body and have change, right? It would
Yeah.
be a set thing because of the
Right.
father's DNA. Now, where I do see
Mm-hmm.
this in my own anecdotal research with my own child, with other friends, things like that, what I see is this idea of the constitution being passed down from the father and the mother.
Yeah.
So in traditional Chinese medicine, we have a constitution, and every organ is basically, it's like, what's the status of that organ, right? And so for my son, for example, I can tell, I had issues with my liver. My husband, dad, has had issues with the liver. And so you're really seeing that both of these kind of planted the seeds for his. And now he's 3. I'm just feeling like I can really kind of dig into some of the work that I need to do for him on that. But it's very apparent through, the quality of stools, the quality of digestion, things like that, that these were parts of him that weren't as like well functioning as I would have liked. And I do believe, had either of us really done this work beforehand, it would have had a positive effect. So I think there's this idea, and this is really what I'm creating right now. I'm creating a preconception program called the Human Blueprint. It's like, you can't blueprint out a body out of resources you don't already have. Like, where are you getting that nutrition from and stuff?
Yeah.
So it's really like, I don't want this to be another reason that women get disconnected from their sense of self and what they can be doing to optimize their body, their soul, their spirit, their everything ahead of pregnancy.
Maybe what are some of like the causes that maybe people don't really know about?
Yeah.
I guess.
I would say the biggest one is probably emotions. That's the one that gets the least amount of like, oh yeah, I can see how that impacts it.
And I feel like people don't always want to address it. They're not comfortable, like digging in and like doing that work sometimes.
And we've been through a medical system that like just wants to cast everything as stress and anxiety on women, right? Like, oh, you don't have your periods. Oh, your hair is falling out. Oh, this is happening. Like, it's probably, you're just stressed. Yeah. So there's this like taboo almost of like, don't tell me I'm stressed out. And that's why I want to get away from that. It's like, it's not about stress. It's like, what emotions feel like they're abundant and they're spewing out versus what feels like it's really repressed and you're not able to express it. And how is that impacting the day-to-day function of your body? And just even some perception or some daily practices can change that. So I would say that's one thing. And, women always feel called out when I'm like, oh, it's the type A women who tend to get HG more because we're used to being, we're in our masculine energy more. And
Yeah.
again, that's a mismatch for the state of pregnancy. So I'd say that's a
Yeah.
big one. Kidney health is not something that many people talk about in general, but kidney health is regulating stress responses. It's regulating
Mm.
clearance of metabolites and histamine and things like that. Kidney health is maintaining mineral balance in the body, and hydration levels at a cellular level. And so I see so many women, I even have one, carrying like the giant Yetis or Stanleys or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And we're so
Yeah.
thirsty, but we're always chronically dehydrated, even though, we can drink so much. So I would say this cellular dehydration is a piece. Liver gallbladder function, a lot of times coming from this piece around the emotions as that, and then also bile health. Just really not having strong digestive function either at the level of the stomach acid or at the
Yeah.
bile. So lots of things there that are sort of the
Yeah.
prominent but less talked about causes.
Yeah. I would say I'm really interested in this bile thing because I feel like, and I watched one of your videos where she was saying, you said to her, well, it sounds like you're just not digesting your food.
Yeah.
And, and I felt like that. I'm trying to think. I think it was more in my fourth pregnancy that I felt that way.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was going in. I just wasn't digesting it.
Yeah.
What are some way, like, tell us a little bit more about, like, what is bile, like how does it help your digestion, like why do we need it, and then so many people have gallbladder issues. Like, I mean, I see that a lot. Some people don't even have gallbladders, right?
Yeah.
They get them taken out before maybe even they're even pregnant. So like, how can you kind of, I guess, best support your bile system?
Yeah. So I would say let's talk about what bile is first. So bile it's sort of a cleansing and emulsifying agent in our body, or fluid in our body. So our liver produces bile and then it concentrates and stores it in the gallbladder. The gallbladder being a bladder, right? So it's holding it. So when we eat food, particularly when we eat fats, our eyes are seeing it, our saliva is tasting fats, it lands in our stomach, our body starts to ramp up release of bile, and that release or secretion of bile acts as an emulsifying agent. And I always want to explain this like oil and water don't mix. But if there's a lot of quality nutrients in that oil, we need to sort of make it so that we can absorb it. And so with like a salad dressing, for example, there are emulsifying agents that would blend it into one consistency. And that's one of the functions of your bile. So it's emulsifying your fat so that you can pull out vitamins A, D, K, and E, and then other nutrients found in fat. So it's really going to help kind of break down fat to a usable form. And another function of bile is that there's many, but it's going to also, the stomach acid, the more higher up in the digestive process we are, the more we're dealing with acidic things. The lower down, the more like basic they become. And this is why sometimes if you have like food poisoning and it's coming out the other end, it burns. It's like the acid and the bile have made it too far down. Like your system is going really fast. So that actually acts as a cleansing agent through the digestive tract. So your stomach acid and your bile are what's going to keep you from getting SIBO, parasites, pathogens, gut infections. They are really cleansing these things out. So that's another important piece. And if your bile quality isn't great, then that's going to be downregulated. And also, I think it's around 80% of dietary fat and lipid profiles is floating around through our lymphatic system. So what's happening is our lymphatic system is using fats to metabolize certain toxins and collect them. And when something gets deposited inside a lipid molecule or a piece of fat, I always like to explain to my clients, like, imagine you have something that you cannot get wet and you put it inside of a ball of butter, and then that butter is sitting in water. The water's not going to penetrate through the butter because of the hydrophobic properties. So what's inside, provided butter's okay to touch it, is going to be fine, right? And so our body does that with fat cells. it puts a toxin that it can't yet detox out of the body
Mm.
into that fat cell, and it will either recirculate it around until it goes through 2-phase liver detox, or if our body can't keep up with detoxification, it will start to store that. This is why people sometimes who like women are really struggling to lose weight, or they can eat healthy, or they're even skinny and they have like cellulite and stuff. This is one of the things, like, that is a deposit box for toxins that your body has an abundance and can't get out. So that's another piece that, like, bile health and the circulation of fats and the detoxification efforts of the liver is all really important, because that's how you're going to maintain hormone balance, because you're going to get rid of hormone metabolites. You're going to get rid of waste products. You're going to get rid of pathogens. So your body is always trying to take things, hiding them and kind of storing them in fat until it's ready to break it down. And then it needs to quickly convert that and get it out through your stool, which, again, your stool is largely made up of digested food and bile.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. Yeah. That's so fascinating. So, and then I feel like too, I had learned that, because of stress, we just overall as a society have lower, like, gastric juices, like stress just depletes your stomach acid. So if you already don't have stomach acid to like start that process higher up, like the trickle down, like everything else is going to be so much harder, I feel like. Yeah. So what is your take on then, like, blood glucose balance? Is that a factor? Because I feel like this is what I did figure out. Like, if my blood glucose like plummeted, then I would be puking like in an instant. So like in my 4th and 5th pregnancies, I was like really adamant about just making sure my blood sugar stayed really regulated.
Yeah. Blood sugar balance is a key piece, because blood sugar regulation is also a function of the liver. And also, when blood sugar is imbalanced, it puts a lot of strain on the liver. Also, what I see is one of the patterns of HG is women who have kind of like late afternoon and into the evening being worse. And that really is more, I'm finding, related to insulin sensitivity and blood sugar balance, because if we have an optimum circadian rhythm and circadian clock, the afternoons, kind of 4 o'clock, is when insulin becomes the dominant hormone that's being released in our body. And so some of these women have not been able to eat protein. They've been lying in, an inefficient light environment. They're sick, so they're inside, right? There's no interaction with the sun. There's no base.
So my last podcast guest, that's what we talked about, was circadian rhythm, and it just blew my mind how much it does for your hormones. And I was just like, okay, we're changing a lot about our light environment in our house and how we're doing things. We are going to be seeing that sunrise every day.
You have to see the sunrise. You have to see when the sunset, like, that's the only basis of like, where am I in time and space, and how do I set my clock on everything? And then what's happening is we've changed to like everything's LED and blue light. So and what you don't also see is like those LED lights are flickering at a rapid pace. So you've just seen the sunset, you've seen the sunrise, you go in, you turn on the light overhead in your room, or like your TV, and all of a sudden you're being flashed like this with high noon light rays. And now your body's like, oh, it's 12? Like, what's going on? And then we wonder why we're hormone imbalanced and we're struggling, and our blood sugar's all over the place. There's no benchmark for our body. So yes, that's a huge piece in the preconception program that I'm making.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken different prenatals over the years, and I'm just wondering, and I have patients ask me all the time, and I switched mine like every pregnancy, because, companies change things and you find out, this one's now putting corn in there, and, so what would you say is maybe like a really good basic prenatal that you could start taking maybe even before conception, just to kind of balance everything?
Yeah, that's an important piece of like before conception. Again, when I talked about that egg and follicle maturation, that's happening 2 to 3 months prior. Sometimes, even 100-day sort of process. When your baby is conceived, you're drawing on the nutrient stores that you've really brought in over, those last 2 to 3 months and longer, but still that's really the basis as the reservoir for the neural tube development. And oftentimes,
Mm-hmm.
the neural tube, some of it is closing up between 5 and 8 weeks. And by that point, some women are just finding out they're pregnant at 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So you've really missed an opportunity. And we're seeing this come into the play with like tongue ties, tight oral tethers, body work being
Yes.
needed, midline deficits.
Yep.
But in terms of a prenatal, I would say it's so hard to find one that is going to hit all the marks. I have
Yeah.
two that I sort of use, and really my belief is that when and where it's possible, relying on whole foods is just going to be so much more bioavailable. It's so much more integrated with nature, and our body knows what to do with real food. Isolated nutrients that are not in their quantities and ratios with respect to each other can create more imbalances. So sometimes we don't even
Yeah.
tolerate prenatals. That being said, if I'm going
Yeah.
for a synthetic one, Dr. Noah, he has one now. It's called Good, Gud, and you can get that on the Supreme Supplements website. And if I'm going for a whole food based one, then Birthright Prenatal is the one that I recommend. So it is like oysters, elderberry, I think there might be fish eggs, beef liver. So it's kind of a whole food
So
form.
it's food based. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in my last pregnancy, couldn't tolerate prenatals.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Or like a half a one, or like it would not work.
No,
for
because
my gut.
especially if your liver is stressed, now you've just
Yeah.
added something synthetic that the liver has to adjust and buffer and do everything for.
Yeah.
So you're really, this is why I like whole foods. If it were me, I would actually take a profile of whole food based supplements, some spirulina, beef liver, making sure I'm eating, 3 or 4 eggs a day with the yolks, a whole food vitamin C. Like I would really create this profile of nutrient dense foods that are going to be the most pertinent as the foundation of prenatal nutrition, because again, what we're absorbing is so much more. And even if we want to speak on like this one thing, like vitamin A, for example, right? Everyone's like, don't take beef organs because of the vitamin A content and watch out for vitamin A poisoning. Well, the studies are typically done on retinol or like isolates of like beta carotene and stuff. And that's giving high dose singular nutrient to somebody. So we have to understand that when we put one nutrient in an excess level with no other nutrients, that's going to create an imbalance in the body. When we take something in a whole food form that's already been stored in tissues of animals or plants in a way and in a ratio that has this complete package, it's behaving totally different. And then we also get into this idea of like, we're being warned. Like, what about vitamin A? What about vitamin A? Vitamin A is actually one of the biggest indicators of like immune function and resilience in children.
Mm-hmm.
When other countries are like, you got the measles, you got this, you got that, it's vitamin A status that really is correlated to the outcomes of this. And we know, again, in say like African countries with some of the diseases that children, they're using vitamin A to boost that child's immune system. So the vitamin A piece is like multi-layered when you think about, are you taking it in a single isolated form, or are you getting it in the form of a whole food? How well is your liver, gallbladder, bile function? And are you fully extracting the nutrients out of fat-based foods? Because if you're not, you're probably actually deficient as a baseline. And then we know that this is actually one of the biggest supports to a developing immune system. So why are we so afraid of it? That fear, again, is just coming from the fact that it's like you've done something completely, you've studied a version of it that's completely unnatural, and now you're demonizing it.
That makes so much sense. So like for somebody who's maybe at like, 16 weeks and they're just really, really, really sick, like what is it like? And if they had like say for instance, everything's kind of pointing to liver stress, like what would you recommend, maybe doing some whole food like based smoothies, what kinds of things could they do like right then that's going to help them feel better? Because I feel like I had no energy and it was just really tough to like get myself to like make a smoothie or, I guess, and also like there's this, I'm going to ask a couple questions in this here, but like, I also know, like, if you feel like, maybe you do have some liver toxicity, Like, I know you can't detox when you're pregnant, right? So like, what are some, I guess, strategies that people could use to like get these nutrients delivered so they're not coming up?
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch in there that I could go off on many tangents of. First off, like, our body naturally is detoxifying all the time. So in pregnancy, we can just support that natural detoxification effort. Typically what
I like
needs
that.
to happen is we need to boost minerals and nutrients, and then the body, those organ systems will function. And I see this the biggest in the liver. The liver has very specific nutrients it needs for 2-phase liver detoxification, and most women aren't meeting those outside of pregnancy, and then they go into pregnancy and they're certainly not prioritizing protein or eating, you know, anything that's going to contribute to this. So if the liver is like, hey, this is the list of things I need to function, and you're getting 10% on that list, it's the obvious low-hanging fruit. Like, we need to nutritionally support with the specific nutrients that the liver is demanding, and that is going to improve the liver's function, improve the body's detoxification efforts, and boost absorption of the food, because now we know that the liver is creating the bile, right? So it's going to be, you know, all encompassing in that sense to really support. Now, another piece you said is like, oh, you struggled to make like a smoothie or to do something. This is again where the energetic piece comes in. Women are thinking they still have to do it all. Pregnancy is supposed to be a taken care of, surrendered state where we're supposed to have a village helping and supporting us, right? And so it can be hard, and it can seem so like trivial, but you know, if your friend's like, hey, what are you doing today? Like, do you want a coffee? Do you want this? Like, to say, I would love it if you came to my house and made me a smoothie. Like, that seems like such a, like,
I'm telling you, that's exactly, I think, what my problem was. A few times it was like, I didn't want to ask for help. Like, you want to seem like you got it all together. And I will say, with my 5th pregnancy, I had a lot of shame surrounding having a big family.
Yeah.
So it was like, and I did not announce my pregnancy until I was 24 weeks. So I couldn't ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of cornered myself in.
As we do.
Like, people who would love and support me, had I just told them, probably, you know, they'd get over it. They obviously love him to death now that he's like 2. But like, I just was so afraid to like let anybody in. I was going to work and my patients are like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And, you know, my patients who really know me are looking at my belly going, I see you. Like, they knew.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please don't wear perfume next time you come in. You know, but yeah, that piece, that's exactly, I think, one of the biggest elements of maybe why I was feeling. And I will say, to add on to, you're talking about liver, I craved liverwurst like nobody's business in that pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah, just a way that our body is innately intelligent. Yeah. Like, again, I remember a point where there was like, every day I'm like, I need a ribeye, but I need just the fat off the ribeye. Like, just that was the thing. I'm like, I need it every single day. Like, so our body is, and this is the reason of why I want to connect women back to their intuition and to their sense of self. It's like, I'm really craving bitter foods or sour foods or whatever. Like, that's actually the liver asking for something. Or I'm really craving salty foods. Like, that's the kidneys asking for help. So we can pull out so many clues. And this is really like, when I'm talking to my women, I'm like, okay, that's a tick for this box or that. And to go back to that, like, it compounds on us. So not only did we not ask for help or we had whatever, we also feel guilty about the workload that we've had to put on to, we feel guilty about the lack of hands-on time that we can have with our kids when we're not feeling our best. We feel guilty about the way we've had to defer responsibilities to our husbands or have them step up.
Yeah.
We, you know, it's like, I'm used to performing at this level and I can't because of pregnancy. And so now I'm going to hold on to guilt and shame as a result, instead of accepting like, you're not supposed to be doing all of this when you're pregnant. You're supposed to have other women supporting you and helping you, and these tasks to be delegated. Like, again, you know, I was going to work too. It was during COVID. So I had a mask, which I hated, but the only good thing about it was like some layer between myself and the smells of the patient. And I would just like rollerball the whole inside of my mask with like peppermint oil, because I'm like, I can tell you have carpet in your house and you have a cat that's walked in its litter box on your carpet. Like I could smell the story of their house from their socks. So it's like, it's just, we're not meant to be doing all these things and like running between patients to be sick in the bathroom and then feeling guilty that we haven't done it. You know, it's like, why are we not accepting help? We're so desperate for it, but we push it away because we have this shame of like, taking help or being supported means something is wrong with me. And that's just not the case.
Yeah. Yes. To all the women listening to this right now, go get support. Like, you're going to be so happy that you did. I mean, if I could redo things so many times, and it's been a recurring lesson in my life story, but I feel like now more than ever, after having 5 kids, I literally cannot do it alone.
No,
I can't. And I have found that people love to help. Like, people feel good about helping you. People love my kids. They want to help me.
Yeah.
And so you will discover like how good you can make other people feel when you ask for their help.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of like a big lesson for me through all of this, is like building support systems and networks and tribes of women who even just can emotionally connect. I think like that emotional piece, like if you can sit and talk with another woman who's walked that path, like it's so healing.
Yeah. And I think like they stripped the village away and they replaced it with systems, and those systems are failing women, right? Like
absolutely
everything from like income and finances. Like now women are going out of the home. They're not raising their children. They're finding ways to be a contributor to their family, you know, and that affects everything, the dynamics of everything. They're also trying to be the healthiest version. They're trying to keep their families healthy. Like there's all of these things in which like women are just tasked with so many pieces. And, you know, people always ask me like, well, how do I even start this? Like, how do I even start to build the village or to get support or whatever? I'm like, the next time someone says, hey, can I bring you a coffee? Hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do that? You just say yes. You don't feel guilty about it. You don't say, that would be great, and now I owe you 10 times more. Like, it's just, yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to receive that. Thank you. That would feel really supportive of me. Like,
yeah. And that's very, like, that's feminine energy. Reception is feminine energy. So, and that's another, like, journey I feel like I've been on since college, is, like, just integrating, you know, my masculine and feminine and just coming to terms with, like, what is it to be in feminine energy? Feminine energy is magnetic. It's receiving. It's being, it's not doing. And so, you know, like that's that type A is very masculine energy. And I definitely came out thinking I'm going to be that type of mom, you know, and I'm do, and I'm going to work and, you know, all of it. And it really, like, it shifted with my first baby. I went, oh my gosh, like this requires slowing down. Like, I don't want to miss this. So it was like this innate thing just sparked in me just by having a baby. It shifted so much.
I saw this quote one time and it said, women multiply at rest, and pregnancy is an example of this. And it's like, we literally multiply mankind when we slow down and we rest. And that is our gift. It's like that slowing down is when we can create and we can, like, you know, birth something into the world, whether that's a creative project or whatever. But we're trying to operate like men. We're trying to hustle our way through it all. And like, women can, but like, how's your autoimmune symptoms?
For only for so long, and then your body's going to shut you down.
And it's why we see the rates of autoimmune issues in women being so much higher in men, is because we're suppressing our true energy. We're suppressing our emotions. We're suppressing our desire for rest. I mean, if we just even talk about our cycles, like, I always like to explain your cycle as like a season. Like, you're ovulating in the summer, you're like, woo, it's great. But you have this winter season too. And like, you cannot perform like the same in the summer as you do in the winter. And so we're trying to, again, just operate as if everything is static and our hormones are static and we can be like men the whole time, not realizing the men are like the sun. They rise and set each day, and that 12 o'clock tomorrow, they're at the same spot as they were at 12 o'clock today. You have to be 28 days later until you're going to be at this same spot. So
true. Yeah. I was just trying to have, just yesterday, my daughter, texts me from school. She's 17. She would hate to hear this on this podcast, but she's not going to listen to it, so I don't care. She was like, I got my period. Oh, she's like, can I come home? And I'm like, no. But then she comes home. She's like, I should go work out. I'm like, you don't need to work out. Like, if you can help it, like, you should just rest. Like, and she is very much a doer, very social, wants to go out and be with people, always doing. And it's really hard for her. But I love that I'm able, like, I just kind of learned about the whole seasons of the cycles about a year ago. And I just love thinking about it. And I love thinking about, when you're in that summer, that ovulation, that's like your creator mode. So then I do notice when I'm working on things like, oh, I'm creative. Like, you feel that creative power come. And then I'm now learning to kind of more lean into that, like, winter rest, like, doing things to go along with that. And I'm trying to teach that to my child as well. And I just love thinking about it as like the seasons is a really helpful new thing I've been playing with, I guess, for the last year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that these are the things, like the more that you can even get her to attune to her body, the more she will prepare and listen to that body prior to pregnancy, during pregnancy, as a mother, right? So it's again, this work is really rooted in, like, if I can connect a woman to her body and her innate sense of intuition and gut instinct and feeling her body, she is going to be a better advocate for herself. She's going to know what her body needs. She is going to prepare a better terrain for pregnancy and for her babies. She's going to be a stronger advocate for her babies. Like, it, I was just on Dr. Nathan Riley's podcast, and we were talking about this. It's like, the biggest clinical tool we have is a woman's lived experience, and we just ignore it and act like it, like, who is an expert of your body more than you are? The guy you just met for 10 minutes does not know more about your body than you. I don't care about what credentials he has. I don't know more about your body than you do.
Yeah. And that goes the same as for your own child.
Yeah.
Nobody, I tell parents of, my patients all the time, nobody knows your kid better than you do.
Yeah.
What is your intuition telling you? What is your gut telling you about this?
Yeah.
Like, does that sound like your doctor's telling you this? Does that sound right about your kid? Like, when you are feeling something's off.
Yeah.
And that's, it's just the power of our
And I think
innate intuition.
Pregnancy can be a really strong initiator for us connecting deeper into our intuition. And I believe this is why there is so much pressure put on pregnancy to be seen as a medical condition, because it kind of disconnects that. It's like, if this is going to be your deepening into your intuition and you're trusting your body like you've never trusted before, but then you have this expert that goes, your body knows nothing, rely on our tests, listen to our advice, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you're veering off towards that path because fear and guilt are leveraged over you, which are powerful emotions to get you to change behavior. And so now, at a time where you could have been so deeply in tune with yourself, you're actually disconnecting from that in a way you never have before, relying on expert opinion, textbooks, tests, ultrasounds, everything to tell you how your body's doing and how your pregnancy is doing instead of feeling it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That it's like from day one, they intervene and then it just derails.
Totally.
Wow. Well, oh man, we're coming up on our hour and this has been so amazing. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or ask me or, promote or any of that today?
Yeah. So, oh God, trust your body. Trust your body. I would say that, like, the more in tune that you can be with yourself, you're not crazy. The symptoms you're feeling are truthful, and you just haven't had a practitioner to sit and listen to it. And this is why I actually got into physio and didn't decline my acceptance to medical school, because I was like, well, I feel like if I'm sitting with someone for like an hour and working on their body and having conversations with them, I'm going to be able to like help them so much more than if I can see them for a few minutes. And, you know, that has just changed and transformed. And now here we are again. My biggest assessment is listening to a woman's story and her experience in her body, much like you probably get to do in your clinical practice as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like those stories, those symptoms, those things that are coming up, those are your truth and those are the signs. And we just need to listen and get curious about like, well, if that keeps presenting, like what's the why behind it, and really dig into that. And if this has been a conversation, of course, give me a follow over on the wellness element, the _wellness _element. Currently, I've been functioning with my HG program being kind of an all-encompassing program that has specific designations for preconception. But I'm really working behind the scenes right now, not only on a rebrand to create more of that mission that I was talking about to awaken mothers and protect the health of children, but also I'm splitting this program and I'm making 2 separate new programs. So it's going to be like, again, if you're landing on this and you're feeling like I need to do something, there's things in my control and I don't want to be the mom that's like, oh, I wish I knew, because this is really one of the things, like whether it's in, you know, the childhood schedule, whether it's in your pregnancy health, whether it's in how your labor pans out, there's always this feeling of like, oh, if I knew now, like then what I know now.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the work I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to give you as much education. You make the decision that's right for you, that you feel is best for your family, but at least it will be one that's truly informed rather than the version of informed consent we're currently operating on. And, and then from that place, like your intuition, your experience, that's the tool. Like you just have to gather this information, lean on women who have education or backings that like maybe you need a bit more information on, and then like your discernment is what you need to follow. Like that's your compass. So yeah, if you're feeling like, oh, I feel like I can take on, like, I want to take this on, I want to like change the trajectory of the health for my future child, then the preconception program that I'm currently working on is going to be so foundational. Like even if you never got pregnant, just to do this work of aligning to your circadian rhythm, your infrared rhythm, your hormonal rhythms, your nutritional status, like all of the things are probably going to eliminate most of your autoimmune symptoms.
That is just health.
Yeah.
That is just health. Addressing those things is health. Your cycle is an expression of your health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of it, really, right? And we found ourselves, the more deeply we've disconnected from nature and tried to replace it with medicine, technology, whatever it is, the bigger the gap is towards us kind of like experiencing health on a day-to-day basis. So much of what I teach is, I always run everything through the lens of like, would we be doing this 200 years ago? Because we weren't like, I mean, I do have a red light right there, but we weren't like sitting in front of red lights with blue light blocking glasses and taking like peptides. Like that wasn't how we were sustaining our health. And so that is the fix or the Band-Aid solution we're trying to do when we still want to remain disconnected from the natural rhythms that we are meant to live in. So the more we can get back to that, the more we'll experience health. And it doesn't really matter what your diagnosis is, what your symptoms are. They are all just the products of the dysfunction of these baseline symptoms. So that's really the area that I go in and target.
Oh, I love that. It's like true. It's the truth. It's true health. Like I cannot promote that enough. Absolutely. Well, goodness gracious. Jess, thank you for being such a blessing and coming on this podcast. And I hope that this just gets shared far and wide, because this is like, I call it vital truth. Like this is vital truth that women need to know. And so, thank you for coming on, and I'm just going to wrap it up.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love that vital truth. It's true.